everyone, welcome to another Magic Arena deck tech. So, something that a lot of people have been asking me for ever since I started playing Blue-White Approach on Arena, which I think is one of the best decks, if not just the best deck besides maybe Mono-Red, is doing an approach deck, but based around Lich's Mastery. So, that's what we're going to try and delve into today. Right now, there is something right away I want to get out immediately. And that is the fact that if I had more rare wild cards right now, I would absolutely have 4 Vraska's Contempts. You gain life, you exile a creature or planeswalker, it's just super useful. Definitely be trying to run 4 of them. It might be correct to go down to something like 2 or 3, but I would certainly try out with 4 at the start because the card's really, really good, answers a lot of problems, and unfortunately I only had enough for 1. So I've been trying to buy enough, but I haven't really been able to get there yet, so we're going to grind and try and get some more. I'd probably replace some Queen's Commissions, maybe the Treasure Map even, and just put in extra Vraska's Contempts. So what the idea of the deck is to play a Lich's Mastery and gain a whole bunch of life and approach its second sun, win the game. If you have Lich's Mastery out and you play Approach the Second Sun, you draw 7 cards. It's really hard to lose the game from there. You immediately redraw the Approach the Second Sun, so they lose the very next turn, they have to kill you instantly, and you're going to need a whole bunch of tools to be able to keep yourself alive. So pretty sweet little 1-2 punch there. A lot of the rest of the deck is all around drawing cards and stalling out the game. So it's got pretty good game against like Mono-Red because you're doing a lot of life gain, a lot of removal spells. So you're going to be running a bunch of Dusk Legion Zealots, early chump blockers, and also ways to draw cards. You're also running 4 Moment of Craving, which I've come to like more and more over Cast Down, even outside of decks that are like this, that care about life gain, just because Mono-Red is such a menace. Other ones are like Merfolk, or Mono-White has really started to become a thing with Benelish. +1/+1 to all of your white creatures, so things like that have been a problem, and Moment of Craving just tends to answer a lot of things better, and the life gain's super, super important. So you got 4 Moment of Cravings, you got your Dusk Legion Zealots to kind of help you on turn 2, shore up your early game, and you have a Treasure Map to help against some of the control decks, so you can just try and outdraw them. Then you have 4 Sunscourge Champions, again, the same kind of thing. Sunscourge Champion is really, really good against Mono-Red. It has profitable blocks against most things, and on top of that, it gains you a ton of life, and then even if they kill it, you can eternalize it, gain a whole lot more life, and have a 4/4, which they have a hard time dealing with. So Sunscourge Champion is just fantastic against a lot of Mono-Red and other like aggro decks, so Sunscourge is a great 4 of. We've got some Queen's Commissions, which I like right now. I'm not sure if I would trade them out, like I said, for the Vraskas, probably. They seem weaker, but yet every time that I've been playing this deck so far, Queen's Commission has been pretty solid. It's just some good chump blockers, some life gain. It's also ways, like when you have Lich's Mastery out, if somebody's dealing you damage, you have to either exile cards from your graveyard, cards from your hand, or permanents you control. So the Queen's Commission giving you 2 1/1 vampires is actually a way for you to kind of gain life immediately off of a Lich's Mastery. If somebody lightning bolts you in the face, lightning strikes you in the face, you don't necessarily have to sacrifice lands, you can sacrifice some of your tokens, which is really helpful. So there's a few reasons why it's kind of okay. I've got some Doomfalls, so that way when you're against the control decks and they might have counterspells for your second approach, you can Doomfall them first, see if the way's clear, and then boom, get them. Also a way to get around, of course, things like, it's not super common, but every once in a while you'll see something like a Glyph Keeper, and Glyph Keeper is pretty annoying. Because this is a bit of a control deck, we have 3 Settle the Wreckage, more just insurance against the super aggressive starts. Mono-White in particular has actually started to be more scary to me than Mono-Red, so Settle the Wreckage does a really good job of getting rid of the creatures that kind of get too big for Moment of Craving. You get a lot of 3/3s and 4/4s eventually, and you can just stop that with a Settle. And of course the Vraska Contempt, like I talked about, 4 Karns. I managed to actually have 4 Karns, and Karn's just a fantastic card. Digs you down to your Lich's Masteries and approaches and stalls out the game really, really well by making a bunch of construct artifacts. So there's a bunch of things that you can use with Karn. And Regal Caracal, more life gain, more tokens, works kind of exactly the same way I said like Queen's Commission does with Lich's Mastery. I could put in 4, but I just don't want to have too many 5-drops. I just like having the early game really short up. This deck is basically just meant to eat alive like a lot of the aggro decks, because it does such a good job of gaining life and chump blocking and just stalling out until you hit approach. So I don't want to have too many Caracals. You can occasionally just win the game off of them, so it's nice to have a few, but I didn't want to go overboard. And then, of course, the 4 Lich's Masteries and our 3 Approach the Second Sons. Just going to go over this because I didn't actually go over it. What Lich's Mastery does is whenever... You can't lose the game once it comes into play, obviously. Has hexproof, so they can't just remove it from the game by using like a Forsake the Worldly or whatever to destroy an artifact or enchantment. Doesn't work. It's got hexproof. They can't target it. It is vulnerable to things like Hour of Revelation or River's Rebuke because those target you as the player and return all your permanents. So when it leaves the battlefield, you lose the game. Bit of a downside there, but nobody's really playing those, so I wouldn't worry about it too much. Now, the important text is that whenever you gain life, you draw that many cards, and whenever you would lose life, for each life lost, like I said before, you exile a permanent or from your hand or graveyard. So you can have a whole bunch of things that you need to... You can basically go down to a really, really low life total, then use your life gain to draw a bunch of cards, and instead just your life total is now all the cards that are in your graveyard and hand. A lot of the times you can be very, like I said, aggressive with your life total, not blocking things, go down pretty low, and trade off a bunch of cards so you can have a bunch of things in your graveyard and actually just kind of gain a bunch of life once you play Lich's Mastery, because you'll have a bunch of permanents, a bunch of things in hand, and a bunch of things in your graveyard, and then, yeah, you're in great shape. So this is a cool little deck. The last thing that we have is our mana base. I could certainly see moving this around a little bit. I have some deserts because I like being able to cycle away some of the lands, draw extra cards. We've got 24, which has been working out just fine for me. And I've got... The other reason why to have deserts is we have Ifnir Deadlands, so just as an extra little bit of insurance policy against aggro creatures, we can put -1/-1 counters on some things. So some nice little options there. And then we have a singleton Arch of Orazca. I could certainly see cutting that, maybe play another Forsaken Sanctuary, but the mana's been working out pretty decently. So we're going to run this through a gauntlet of Quick Constructed and see how it goes. I haven't done really any of those yet. I've played about 20 regular games with it, but I haven't run it through a gauntlet yet. So here's our first shot.